Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today and starting your day off with us. My name is Ebony Beckwith, and I'm our Chief Philanthropy Officer, and I am joined here by James Rhee, CEO of our incredible customer, Ashley Stewart. And before we begin, I just wanted to take a moment and tell you how this all came about today. And I think it's really interesting to me because James and I had a call a couple of months ago. And like many of us, I'm on a lot of calls and a lot of meetings every single day, but rarely do I get off of a call feeling so moved, so inspired, so energized. I was really fired up after we spoke. I don't know if you know that, but I was super fired up. And I was really struck by the fact that how much that Salesforce and Ashley Stewart have in common. Both of our companies are driven by a core set of values. We both keep the customer at the center. And I remember getting off the phone, reaching out to the account executive saying, we've got to get this story in front of more people. So that's why we're here today. I really am excited for you all to hear about James and his story, his background, and why Ashley Stewart is so important to you. But before we do that, I thought we would share a video to give us a little bit of context. So we'll go ahead and roll the video.
This
is the Ashley Stewart story.
the story
The story
of you and I.
We are a fashion brand, but we offer so many different things to women and to the community that other plus-size clothing companies don't.
I am Ashley Stewart.
She is every woman. She's that woman who is broken. She's that diva.
The fact that Ashley Stewart is there to speak for those women who don't have that voice, because they can come into the store and they can be like, oh, she cute.
Ashley Stewart
was founded in
1991.
In Brooklyn, New York.
You can come in here and whether you buy something or not, you're going to leave with all the tools that you need to take on all those challenges that society throws at you.
Ashley Stewart
is the story of
Neighborhood girl.
Gone global.
We give so much back.
Ashley Stewart movement is just to be global, to embrace our community, to embrace our customers.
There was this one customer that came in all the time, and she came in with a return. I go to give her the return slip, and I said, Mama, will you sign this? She was like, sure, baby, no problem. We became family in that one single moment. Fast forward a few years, Katrina happened. I was in a store working, and she came in. And the moment she came in, she just started crying. And she was like, my baby. And that just started from a simple return.
Toughest moment that I had working with Ashley Stewart was when I received the phone call that we were going into bankruptcy.
I thought I was going to lose my best friend. What was going to happen to these relationships that we had? Where was that customer going to go?
It was bad, but if we stay in it together, we can fix it. Everything he said that he was going to do, he did.
The store that I was actually working in was one of the stores that closed. At that point, it was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
You have to have enough faith to know that this too shall pass.
The moment I felt comfortable was when, after the bankruptcy and then James takes over and we had this meeting, he came down here and he says, this is what we're gonna do. Can you see us in 3 years? And we're gonna do the Facebook, and do you know about the Instagram?
Social media is the future. Us reaching that girl who may not have the Ashley Stewart in her area, her to see what goes on inside of our four walls is very important.
We had more power this time. Our voice was louder. And it wasn't always that way, but we were survivors. Ashley Stewart customers and people that work here, who are our first customers, were survivors. We persevere. That's kind of how, I see the brand now.
The Ashley Stewart movement is bigger than all of us, really, but yet it's all of us together. It's going to take over the world, and it's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Why do I love Ashley Stewart? Simple. I love Ashley Stewart because she loves me.
This
isn't just a fashion company.
It is a movement.
A movement.
The movement.
Are you ready to join?
I know. I watched it last night, I watched it this morning, I watched it when you first sent it to me. Every time it gets me. James, thank you for being here. So before we get into talking about the movement, there's a question I've had for you, and I don't think I've had a chance to ask you this question. How did you even know about Ashley Stewart? I'm assuming you weren't a regular shopper.
No. This was in a different life. I was an investor. I live in Boston. I've been investing money for a long time. I've made a lot of investments in consumer retail goods, venture growth, distressed. And this was a business that was in a portfolio of a firm that I had left a while ago. And that's how I first met the company. It was about to go away in 2010, the first time. And we saved the company as investors in 2010. And so I was on the board. I'm on the board of a lot of things. And I've never run a company before. That's not what I do. And in 2013, it was about to go away again. And that's, my life changed in 2013.
So tell us why. Why did you feel moved to get involved?
I think to answer that question, it's knowing me, I think, a little bit more. Everyone gets labeled with things, and for most people here in this city, New York, Boston, they know me as James, financier guy, right? Investor guy. And that's a skill set. It's not who I am. Who I am is, I'm the kid who stood up for his mother my whole childhood, I went to Harvard College. It was my first kind of credential that I've ever had. And then I went and taught high school for underachieving kids and made 12 grand a year teaching. That's who I am. It's like I tend to deconstruct things, break through a door, figure it out, quantify it, and then I want to teach it to someone else and say, you can do this, it's easy. Just do this. And then I vouch and sponsor people. I've done this my whole life. I'm kind of an anti-credential type guy. It doesn't impress me. For someone who didn't grow up with any, I'm incredibly unimpressed with what I've discovered in the credential world. It doesn't mean anything to me. And so I look for substance in things, in people, and as an investor, right, core values, but as a human being, nothing surface impresses me. So this business and these women, it may make more sense now. She is like my mom. It's someone who is, I don't think, understood correctly by a lot of people or media or portrayed correctly. She is the most hardworking, loyal, truest friend you could have. And the business is just an amalgamation of all of these women. The business is just a Reddit forum, right? It's all the women. It's Ashley Stewart. And some of the things that I heard from my tall buildings in Boston, New York, San Francisco, they bothered me. If you think about the metaphor that is Ashley Stewart, was her access to the capital markets easy? No, maybe non-existent. At the time in 2013, there were no computers in the stores. There was no Wi-Fi at the corporate headquarters. So from a metaphor, from a technology standpoint, this was a part of the world that was it was off the grid, it was left behind. And that's happening today. And so the things that I heard while people were pretty, it's just, James, come on, let the business go away. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And so I shut down my life for 6 months. I resigned from the board and I walked away from all these, quote, credentials, and I showed up in August 2013 and said, my name is James, right? And I know, and I have no experience in running a retail company. I've owned a bunch, but I've never run anything. I'm scared. I miss my family, and I know. And I said, I need your help, but this is why I love the brand, because I think it represents merit. I think it represents a lot of really good things in this country, and real ties in neighborhoods, real communal accountability. And I just said, will you fight with me? Let's fight, let's do this. And that's what happened. And it was really 4 or 5, 6, 7 people at HQ, but it was really the stores. And I went to all of the stores and I just said, my name is James. And I got a lot of, you?
Sure, you got a little bit more than that.
Yeah, and in particularly in Philadelphia and Chicago, I will tell you, it was like, And it's one of these things that when we go forward and talk about just strategy, what we're doing, it was the other two dialogues that are not verbal that were the most important. It wasn't what I said, it was how I said it, what my eyes said, my dimple, just all the nonverbal cues, and she knew. And the whole brand is built on trust, and she trusted me. And then the rest is history, and we'll continue the story, but it wasn't easy. It was a very harsh 6 months. It was really hard.
Tell us a little bit about the brand. Tell us about her. And also tell us about kind of what the footprint looks like.
Okay, so people, if you think about judging things, like the easy answer is to say, oh, it's plus size fashion, now it's size 10 and up, and they sell clothes, and mostly black neighborhoods. That's the easy thing to say. I just don't think that's too easy. If you really go to the surface, if I asked you, how could a company for 22 years survive without making money, without liquidity, without computers, Wi-Fi, it's something else, right? There's something else going on here, and it's a safe place. It's a place in her local community. It's not mall-based. It's in neighborhoods and in strip malls. It was a safe place for a woman that carries an awful lot on her shoulders, is a massive giver. She gives everything to her kids. She doesn't take care of herself enough. But this was the one place that she just would go in and go, oh, that was it. And she wasn't discriminated race or size. So you had double discrimination going on here, right? Size and race. And when you really peel back the onion, these days now people really understand it more clearly. Like, it is the largest and oldest brand in fashion, operating business even, directed at black women in this country. There isn't a larger one whose genesis was for black women. So that's the historical significance of the company. And so it was these 3,500 square foot little boxes in 22 states, in downtown areas. And it was tied into church. She would go in and buy a church outfit. It used to sell a lot of church hats. Now it's more just fashion, but that's what it was, and that's what it is. And I think the main product of the company is not clothes. It's things like self-esteem, taking care of yourself. It's with friends and fashion, and it's a place where our women could let down their armor too. And you can see it when our customers walk into the stores. You can see it just in like her neckline, shoulder line. It's just, I've sat in the stores just watching for hours. I'm like, wow. And it reminded me of my mom. I've seen that before, where my mom, we grew up in a very, I think I was like the only brown face, and my mom just didn't ever feel comfortable. But like once a year we would go into like Queens, and she would go shopping in like a Korean grocery store, and she could speak Korean. I said, whoa, look at mom. Like, she's telling people what to do, and her shoulders are up. And I saw that in my mom a lot, where in the house she was like the boss. But once she left the house, shoulders a little down, that's not, you see a place like this for anyone, I think you have to fight for it. And I think it's humanity. I think of it as black women. I think it's a story of humanity. I think this is the type of place, country, professional environment that anyone would want to live in, work in, to be safe, and to have friends. Yeah.
It just amazes me how you saw through this failing company, and you saw the people, you saw the communities, you saw past what, like you said, you were unimpressed with all the other things, and what struck you were the people. And so I think that's, if we talk about the call that we had, I was like, who thinks this way? And Tell me about, we talked about the core values. One of the core values that you have is kindness.
Yeah.
Tell us how kindness rules your business.
Yeah, that's, I got laughed at for saying that actually by a lot of people that first town hall after saying that we have to sell scrap metal to make payroll right now. That was the first thing. And then I said kindness and math. Because those are the two things that are the most transcendent things in life. Like math never lies, kindness, joy, these are transcendent terms. Joy is not happiness, kindness is not niceness. Kindness is a really close first cousin to love. And both kindness and love create a sense of being a fiduciary. It's empathy. It's really putting other people first. And not to be overly like Buddhist, but it's more just you become like a medium. By being strong in yourself, you can really put other people in your shoes. And you laughed at this yesterday when I said Whoopi Goldberg, you know, that scene in Ghost when Patrick Swayze goes into Whoopi, and and I've said that to Whoopi, by the way, like you know, but that's, and you really sit there and then you realize you have a lot in common with everybody. You do, you know, and there are differences, but the fundamental thing about wanting to be appreciated, loved, safe, that's transcendent. So that's what kindness is, and it's not weak. Kindness and love are incredibly strong. And you have to be strong. Like those 6 months, I found a strength in me, oh my gosh. It was 20 hours a day, alone. You know, and like lawyers coming in, people wanting the grid closing in on the company because they're saying, James, come on, man, let it go. I'm like, no. So you fight the grid. And so kindness creates this, it's like you don't think of yourself. You just, right? And it's like a mother with her kid. It's this, you just become a superhero almost. You're able to do things you didn't think you could do. And that's what it was like. And you know, kindness is also very blunt. It is a performance culture. I want you to know, like I have sort of two sides to me. I'm a former high school teacher, closet like music guy, but I'm a quant investor, performance person, right? So it's not, it looks oxymoronic, it's not. I think kindness is, it demands ultimate fiduciary behavior and your best in a very unadulterated, unselfish way. You do your best for this customer. And if you can't give me that, you can't work here. Right? There's no good or bad. You shouldn't work here. And
there's someone on our team who has a Post-it note on her desk that says, clear is kind, unclear is unkind.
Yes.
So it sounds like you were very clear, but also really kind in the way you approached your business.
You know, I asked people, I said, do you understand what drove this crazy person to come down? Like, I wouldn't have done this I don't think I would have done this for any other business. And I said, do you understand when I'm asking how could it survive for 20-something years without any of these things, do you not understand that? And if you can't understand that, you can't be here. And when the intent is good, when you establish trust and good intent, you have a duty to be blunt and to tell the truth. So our performance feedbacks there's no knife in anyone's back at Ashley Stewart. The knife goes full frontal. You know, and I think people appreciate that. Like, tell me what I could improve on. Tell me what you don't like. Tell me what I need to do. In a lot of ways, it's this family type environment, which I know is very important here, where when you're at the dinner table with your parents and they're saying that habit you have, awful. And we're telling you because we love you.
Right.
And no one else will tell you
Right.
this. And so I think that's, once you establish trust, I think you have a duty to be honest. But the intent has to be good, not cruel.
Can I ask you about the 6 months? I often wonder about what your circle of friends, your network was telling you while you were going through this hard 6-month battle. Were your advisors saying, I don't know why you're doing this, or who was supporting you, and what were some of maybe the negative feedback that was coming in?
The people who were supporting me were the people who knew me the best and loved me for who I was my wife and my children and my family. My wife, it's the most important decision I've ever made, was to marry my wife, or she married me, I don't know. But when I said to her, we were on vacation, and they said, when the board was saying, do you know anyone that is sort of this venture distressed lawyer guy that loves this company that would do this? I'm like, are you asking me to be CEO of this company? And my wife said to me, she's like, you're going to do it. I said, I am. I was like, are you willing? I'm going to be away from home for 6 months, like 5 days a week. And I said, can you do this? Because our kids were much younger. And she said, 6 months. And so she knew, because she married a high school teacher. You know, that's who she married. I think she was worried that I would ever have like a job. Because I always, I come up with these cool projects and I do things to help people, and some of them were not for profit. A lot of my business friends who were more acquaintances, yeah, like you can imagine the feedback you get. Dude, are you nuts? What are you doing? You're at the top. Like, what are you doing? You're throwing away everything. You're going to get tarred with this. It's going into bankruptcy. It's liquidating, and they're going to blame you. Your name's going to be on the filings. It's not your fault. Just walk. And I'm like, well, okay. And some of the comments were a little bit even thornier, that saying, well, James, okay, but this brand, it's not like it's, it's not fancy. It's not, and I'm saying, what are you saying? It's not an East Hampton brand. That's what is really being said, right? And it's not prestigious. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I taught high school at a no-name school after college. I'm just not impressed, and I'm going to impress the people that I care most about, which is my family and myself, actually. That was the feedback, and we all grapple with that right, all the time. Like, what do other people think? And it's hard to live a true life at times. And this was I viewed this as no downside. I knew it was going to be in bankruptcy. I was just trying to avert liquidation. I was hoping that after 6 months, my skill set, finance, lawyer, that I could somehow convince someone to just save the jobs. Like, I wanted another bigger company to take the stores
Got it.
and just operate the stores and keep predominantly black women jobs and the social patterns in predominantly black neighborhoods, to keep it. And that was my goal. And then I was going to go back in 6 months and just resume my life. And what happened after 6 months, I went around and presented the business plan and said, this is not fashion, it's going to be this, we're going to have a media arm and a college tour, and no one would give me money. And I know a lot of people manage money, that's obviously my other life, and I got rejected by every single firm in the world to back this business. The only people interested in investing in the business were the liquidators who said, I'll pay you $8 for this desk, $7 for this cash register. So implicitly, they valued the friendship base for 23 years of this community, the strength of the relationships, the goodwill, at zero. So putting real harsh financial terms on it, the whole free world, the free markets valued this company at zero. And the only value were the chairs.
So did you end up having to invest personal dollars?
I did. So I had promised a lot of the employees, they said, ride or die, James? This was in August 2013. And I said, wait a minute, ride or die. Ride or die. And I'm like, yeah, ride or die. And in terms of sort of judging people, I am ride or die. Like, that's how I live my life, right? I'm all in all the time. And I said, okay, ride or die. And I came back after failing, and I just said, I think we died. I've done everything I could possibly do. I've asked everyone. I had a hard time walking for about a week. The stress and not being able to really explain the intricacies of bankruptcy law to my employee base. You can't. They just knew we were in trouble, but I'm like, it's really bad. So I just had a moment. I just was obviously sad. you know? And I called my wife and I said, fail. Like, and I was mad at myself because I just said, how silly of you. Like, it's just hubris that you could think that. Anyway, and then I just had another moment and I said, you know what? I came into this wanting to do the right thing, but after 6 months, and really thinking with my investor hat on about where the future of the world was going, and I got to know these women really well for 6 months. It wasn't just doing the right thing. I said, Meg, I'm right. Like, I'm right as an investor, I'm right. And so she said, is it your heart or your brain thinking? And I said, it's both at the same time. And so I called in my chits. I literally, like It's a Wonderful Life, you know, at the end when they clear the table, I cleared the table. I put a basket out effectively, and I said to my friends, I need the money now. And my friends sent me, you know, over $18 million, like this. I called in every favor, because it wasn't a favor, it was more, they said, we know your track record, both as an investor, but more importantly as a human. Like, we know it may go to zero, but you will fight like heck here. And so the money came, and I showed up and I said, I got the money. And we were the only people and it came out of bankruptcy. April 23rd, 2014, that was the date it cleared bankruptcy. So this business that had never made money, and I want you guys to know, I had a policeman armed at headquarters protecting the employees because they were worried about being shot in the parking lot because it was a second bankruptcy in 4 years. And so they were worried about people being mad about not being paid. That's the conditions in which all of this was happening. And, you know, so talking about kindness, people were like, what? Like, no, we're just gonna be like this, but we're gonna innovate like heck in this environment with a very calm way. You know. So I stayed. So it's been now 6 months has turned into 6 years. That's my life went, but in an odd way, it's gotten back to being, I don't know, I think I'm kind of, it's pretty centering. Maybe it does make sense in some ways. You know?
What I notice when I look at the website, when I see the videos, looking at your press clippings, there is a loyalty with not only your customers, but your employees. Yeah. They use the word love. Tell me about the moment when you came in with the 18 million. Like, did that shift and transform? Like, when did that love grow?
That first day, it was August 20-something, 2013, it just keeps growing every day because what's happening is, look, I judge people talk too much these days. They don't do. So we just did. And what's happening now is that as people look back, they say, wow, it was really bad. I'm like, yeah, it was really bad. I didn't talk about it. We just did it. And so now when people appreciate, I always ask people, what are you at your worst? What would you do at your worst? When no one's watching, there's no upside for you. There was no upside. What would you do? And so I think it's that. So people see and they said, wow, awesome. You know, and it's a one of a kind, you can't reinvent this. The people that stuck together and fought for this. And, you know, I view it as what I've done a good job on is just really, frankly, holding a mirror up to a lot of our long-term employees and customers who have been doing it since 1991. You know what I mean? Like, that was there for 22 years, well before I showed up on the scene. I think the best thing I've done is to say, look at you. Look what you do. And you know I don't suffer fools. Like, I'm a pretty tough judge, right? And I'm like, I admire you. You're a winner. Do you believe you're a winner? I do. And so that's been growing. That's the love, and it's self-love, and it's just, and we're still an underdog, right? It's not easy. I mean, we are a, you know, moderate size. We're not Walmart. We're not Amazon. Like, there are days, these days, I feel like I have 2 water pistols and I'm just, right? I'm Walmart, Amazon, and like, look at the national discourse, right? We have an underdog customer, underdog company, underdog industry in a world that favors bigness, currency, like money. Like, we deal with other currency. I wish we had more of this sometimes, a lot of times. What am I going to do? Like, cry? You just go on. And we have to be very resourceful, and it leads to doing some pretty neat things. Like, we make up things, and I'm like, oh, we're going to do this now. It's an incredibly innovative culture, because we have to be. But it's hard, make no mistake, and it's gotten harder, particularly over the last 3 years, just as the national discourse has gotten awful. This is a brand that really is authentically one of the oldest and truly authentic, quote, diverse and inclusive brands. It originated out of a brown community, and it is a very strong woman brand. We over-index single moms, our employee base and customer base. And it's starting to really, other women are realizing this. It's, we're using, to give you guys a plug, I mean, one of
My
the,
next question, how are you using Salesforce to innovate?
yeah. One of the things, every dollar in this company, you know, we're talking about duality of things, about Smeagol, Gollum, kindness and math, and it's a capitalist business. We have to make money, right? Or else people wouldn't listen to us as much, sadly, right? But the e-com platform is powered by Commerce Cloud. This was a business, again, that had no Wi-Fi. So did you know that 40% of our online demand now are non-black women?
Wow.
So we're one of the only businesses that is using technology. We're importing the profits from our suburban white women is being powered by e-com. We're literally transferring capital flows. The capital flows are going back into our store neighborhoods, which is funding investments in computer, Wi-Fi, our HRIS systems. All our technology investments are being funded by e-com profits from outside our store neighborhoods. And it's a real metaphor. It's purposefully set up this way, where I'm thinking it's almost like we're running, I feel like the business model, I'm running a world. It's called the world of Ashley Stewart. Like, you know, Disney World? It's the business model, in my head, it's like, this is a world. And in this world, it is a brown woman's voice, face, her friends. It is categorically, unapologetically non-minority voice. In this world, she is the majority. It's her world. So we use a lot of user-generated content. And it just flips everything. And I'm like, take this other pill, like the Matrix. Like, you're so used to being a minority and sort of, I'm like, no, in this world, just be yourself. And other people want to come and join. And so what's happening is that she has a lot of white friends, Latina friends, and Brazilian friends, and she's inviting her friends. And you call them customers, I call them friends. Like, the world is getting a little bit bigger, right? And that's how Salesforce, it was a very important, if we didn't have an e-com platform, the business wouldn't survive, because the stores, it doesn't generate enough GDP to keep the business alive. And so we're attracting other capital through Salesforce.
One of the things on the video I loved, every time I watch it, I think about my family and friends. Someone said, "You brought in the Facebook, the Instagram." Oh, no. So precious. Tell us about that and just your vision and kind of how, I guess I wonder how you took a brand that had no Wi-Fi, no computers, into a digital age and a digital space where now, you know, your volume is coming from, you know, your non-traditional customer base. How did you even transform the team, you know, to think differently? The thing that is the most important thing, which I have zero responsibility for, was the core DNA and soul of the brand. Because all technology and money does is it amplifies what exists already. And so that was the most precious thing. That's the only asset this company has, is that. And so this is what I took
to the new business. It's a startup, right, guys? This is not a turnaround. It's a startup. So we literally took this and I put it here, and I was like protecting it from the wind, and we created a new legal entity. And so I asked people from an employee standpoint, do you understand this? Do you want to be part of this? And this is where the teacher in me and the coach, transformation doesn't happen because you say it, we're going to transform today. It doesn't happen like that. So it's been every day, every dialogue. I drop popcorn. I'm like, do you see this? Do you see where it could be? Not really. Okay, I'm going to come back and we're going to drop another popcorn. And the way I do it, it's almost like I've already written a book in my head. It's 30 chapters. I think this is chapter 6. I've already written the book. And I'm literally reading the book and I'm saying, do you know what's going to happen in chapter 7 yet? No, not yet? Okay. But you know what's going to happen in chapter 15. I'm foreshadowing everything. And so the faster it's picking up now where customers and employees are saying, I know where the book is going. I'm like, yeah. And there's no trick ending here. This is where it's going to go. And so when I partnered with the National Urban League to register women to vote, I did. People are like, oh, of course you're going to do that. Okay, right? You're going to throw a big concert and sell it out for the 3rd straight year this year, and Lala Anthony and Lonnie Love and Soledad's coming, and Yanla and En Vogue and SWV and Sultan, all these people are coming? Yeah, of course you were going to do that. And I was like, and I always smiled because I said, if I had told you this, and I did, in 2013, that we were going to be a multimedia company and that an MTV president wants to do a reality show with Ashley Stewart, like confessional boxes in our stores.
Oh,
right?
That's genius.
And they want to make a movie out of this in LA. Like,
wow.
It's like Remember the Titans meets Black Panthers meets Crazy Rich Asians. You know? You know? And if I said that we were going to do this in 2020, that I was dead set on making sure that there would be no obstacles for our customers' employees to vote, you would have thought I was crazy. Some of you did. But now you don't think it's crazy anymore. You know, and then I say to them, if we could do this with a business, with nothing, like guys, a lot of this has been with smoke and mirrors, right? It's not like there's no money growing on trees at Ashley Stewart. Like every dollar, we have to be mindful of. Like I don't have an office because I view it as a waste of money. Like why should I have an office? Because it's like the family's money. The sales are family's money, and like dad doesn't need an office. You know, like my sister Jennifer needs new ballet shoes, so Jennifer's going to get ballet shoes. Anyway, so they see this and say, for me, if the business could do this, I can do this. I'm going to go back to school. I'm getting out of this bad relationship. I'm going to start exercising more. That's what's happening. And it's showing up in our healthcare numbers. It's showing up in our workers' compensation numbers. It's showing up in our internal employee happiness levels. There's a calm right now, or after 6 years, and it's just a healthy, the stress level, it's safe. Like the company is safe. It used to be just the stores were safe, but the company is a safe place now. And yeah, I'm really proud of that. I think that's the thing I'm most proud of, is that it's a safe place for a lot of our employees and our customers in a very difficult macro environment, retail environment. It's a fight every day, but it doesn't feel like it. Does that make sense? Like we know we're doing the best we can. That's all we can do. And we need friends, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here. Like metaphorically, this world needs friends, because the world is set up in a way that our little Ashley world, the rest of the world will crush this world. It does, actually, every day it does. So in order to make this world grow, we come to places like this. I joined the Advancing Black Pathways Board at JP Morgan, the world's largest bank. We're partnering with the grid, with good partners on the big world, and saying, work with us. And we're not asking for a handout, we're a customer. But we're saying, but we also need your help too, because we are undermanned, we are underinvested and behind still in technology. We are. We're not hiding it. And we're like, please help us. And you'll find us to be good partners, and we move fast. And that's the deal that we're making. And that's where we are right now, where now that our world is stable and the business model works, as the world is doing this, I have to spend a lot more time outside this world and saying, have you met my friend Ashley Stewart? Have you met her? And that's why now when Whoopi comes, and I get very choked up when this happens, and when Whoopi Goldberg says, you know what, I want to work with you, with Ashley Stewart. I'm like, oh. And it's not to sell clothes. She understands. She's like, I'm going to work with you. And so we sold the same things that Neiman Marcus sold at 70% less price. And Whoopi basically said, I don't think she said this directly, Neiman's, but implicitly what she was saying was, that's the deal. I want my Ashley friends to have access to the same things that you do. And that's how it's going to be. And that's, you know, that's a moment where I get, I'm really happy for this world, right? It's like from where we came from, and I don't know. I regularly get choked up running this company. I want you to know. You know, it's because you need friends, guys. It's very hard to be successful in life without people wanting to help you be successful. It's a lonely life that way, and business too.
I love that Salesforce and Ashley Stewart are friends. And we're in the same world together.
You know, I don't know, just as an aside, like in Women's Wear Daily 2-3 years ago, one of your executives said in a quote, there were like 6 brands that mattered the most. It was like Tom's, Starbucks, Warby Parker, Patagonia, REI, and Ashley Stewart. And I read that quote from a Salesforce executive, and I just, in Women's Wear Daily, and that was another moment for me. I'm like, oh, wow. And we're not them, like in scale but our importance to our employee and customer base, our influence, capital I would put us right up there with anybody.
Absolutely.
It's just if our customers had more, frankly, if wealth was more evenly distributed in this country, Ashley Stewart would be a multi-billion-dollar brand. It would be. But that's not the cards that have been dealt. And so we are expanding our business model in other ways.
So tell us, before I open it up to you all, tell us about your vision for the future.
I want this world to be, it's a world. So the world needs, any world needs technology. It needs it needs a really unified community. So we are here in part because we are trying to figure out what's the best way to scale the business, and we know we need technology to really fuel a next-gen, out-of-the-box loyalty program. Not loyalty like you get $10 back from, I'm talking loyalty, where it's you recognize who your true friends are. And when you have real friends, when you have the data in one place too, and trust, then you can start doing some interesting things, right? So one is we're trying to use this as a way to, I teach at all of the schools for where a lot of my customers' employees' kids go. So a lot of historically black schools, predominantly black schools, a lot of first-gen college schools. So I teach.
What are you teaching?
It's called Money Life Joy, Money Life Happiness. I teach it at McKinsey, JP Morgan, Goldman. I teach it at Duke for credit. But I'm teaching the same class to the children of my customer base because I'm saying this is what I did 6 years ago. This was the math, the principles of happiness, of physics. I'm teaching them the big picture about how to be, quote, successful, which is money, joy. It's both, isn't it? And I did it because some of my longtime employees that were on the screen said, can you imagine if you'd been here in 1991? And I said, no, I was 20 and I was an idiot. You wouldn't have wanted that guy. You know, but slightly older, more experienced James, like, you know, maybe kind of still an idiot at times, but like, you know, a little bit more knowledgeable. And I said, this is the best way I can do that. I can make a difference that way. And so that's one. So we have an education system. Number two is healthcare. And this is way ambitious. and way not next year or 2 years, but we are a champion sponsor for Susan G. Komen. And they approached us because it's Bank of America and Ford, and they approached us and said, would you be a champion sponsor? And I said, we don't have the money to be a champion sponsor. We're not Bank of America and Ford. They said, we don't want your money. We want your influence.
Wow.
So there are disparate outcomes in breast cancer for Black women. In almost any healthcare, any disease, any medical research, they're disparity outcomes. So we're a champion sponsor of Susan G. Komen's, particularly with their sub-effort that Robert Smith funded for Black women mammogram and preventive breast cancer awareness. So we're doing that with them. But if you think about it, if we have the data and trust of our customers, could it be neat and feasible that one day that she would trust us enough to wear pink Ashley Stewart bracelets to perhaps remind her of checkups, blood pressure? Maybe. You know, so these are the things I'm thinking about. How do you use this one asset that it has, which is community and trust? And then if you can have data and technology to help fuel that and not distort it,
Right.
can it be a significant catalyst of change in a positive way well beyond selling clothes?
Right.
And the only reason why we sell clothes, so long as I'm CEO of the company, is really to fund these things. I'm not in the business here to sell clothes. Didn't stick around for 6 years to do this. It's funding hope, but it's not empty hope. It's substantive hope. This is the path. We do need technology. You do need a modicum of funds.
Right.
You do. But funds and technology, it leads to unhappiness. And look what's happening in our world. It doesn't solve everything. So that's how I see Ashley Stewart evolving, where could we have content programming in our own TV station? Sure. We have all the content in the world, we just don't have the distribution yet, but that's what's happening, why these media partners are coming and saying, it's real what's happening in your stores.
Right.
And the world is dying for something to believe in.
And authenticity.
And that's all we have, Ashley Stewart, right? We don't have billions of dollars of funds, and that's all we have.
Thank you. Do you have questions in the audience? Yes, Emily. We'll have a mic for you.
Hi. I have so many questions for you, but I will try to rein it in. First of all, thank you for sharing your story. It's such a powerful story. And, excuse me, you have such a unique perspective on business and on life. And as a parent of a young girl myself, I'm actually just really curious to hear more about your mom and your family and how they raised you to be you.
They didn't know what to do with me, actually, for a lot of, because like a lot of parents who are just, they're just they're off the grid. If you think about my parents, and my parents, the story I like to tell is that they bought a menorah when they first moved here because they thought it was just beautiful. They didn't know. And so it was this. And my job was actually to inform them of most of how this country worked. And they were so hell-bent on credentialing me. And I would fight it all the time. So when I got into Harvard, I'm like, I don't want to go. And my dad was like, you're going. I'm like, no, I don't really want to go. Like, I think I want to go make movies or something, or I don't know. So, they did a good job of, I feel very indebted to them, but I'm not crippled by that indebtedness, which I find that a lot of the young students that I teach now, they so want to do right by their parents. And I often tell them, I'm just like, hey, it's a good feeling, but don't let it cripple you. And it's that old adage about in a plane where you have to put on your oxygen mask first, and then you can help other people. And my mom, I'll tell you a little vignette that shows you how this is about family. And my mom didn't understand. My dad died about less than a year after I pulled the company out of bankruptcy. and it was a long bout with Parkinson's, and I still had like the 7, 8 jobs in the company, and I didn't know if it was going to work. Just because it comes out of bankruptcy and you have a little bit of money, you don't know if this cockamamie business plan is going to work. And my dad died. And at the same time, my youngest daughter almost died in a weird camp accident. And my wife didn't tell me because my dad's dying, and she finally tells me, and I'm sort of looking up and going, is this all you got for me? Right? Dad, daughter, business, and I'm not sleeping for a week. And at my dad's wake, my mother's there, my wife and my youngest couldn't make it because they were in the hospital still. And I didn't tell anyone that my dad died because I was worried that the business was going to collapse. I needed a week. I needed a week. And in walks the home office to my dad's wake, and I thought it would be a bunch of kind of tweed wearing, primarily Asian and Jewish primary care physicians. That was my dad's social scene, okay? But in walks my home office, and our home office is like the United Colors of Benetton, okay? And I'm like, wow, that's really nice. And I wasn't shocked, because I spent so much time with them. And what I really kind of lost it, and my mom's sitting there talking to the women from the stores came. And I see them hugging my mother, and they're saying to my mother that your son is a good man. You know, that she understood then. She's like, she didn't understand what I was doing. Like, she's like, are you selling clothes literally at a retail store? Because the language barrier is there, and and I'm trying to explain, no, I'm doing it for these reasons, and that's why I wrote the Harvard Business Review piece. That was actually to my dad. He died 2 days later. And then they came up to me, and her name was Cherry, and still, she's in the video, and she held my hand, and she says to me, James, you didn't tell anybody. Like, no. And she goes, you didn't think we'd be here for you? Like, for real? And I cried. So that intersection there, I'm seeing my worlds. It's my mom, it's Ashley Stewart, and it's not like my mom and Ashley Stewart interacted an awful lot during my mom's 70+ years, but at that moment, it was just a moment. And I think about that every day, no matter how hard things get, and I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? Like, I gotta figure this out. We gotta come up with something new. That's how my parents raised me. That was,
Thank you. Another question?
Yes. I am very inspired by your story, so thank you so much for coming to speak with us today. What I wanted to ask is if you've been approached by anyone from sort of another emerging retail company that is really specifically targeting a different type of demographic. Specifically, I'm thinking of, like, in the LGBTQ community, there's some new retail companies coming out for people transitioning, and like the types of communities and impact and authenticity that I think your company has, and if you've been able to transfer that to any other companies as well.
So yes, this whole concept of a world, when you translate it into, now I'll put my business hat on, and change my tone of voice to be more like,
All right.
we're building a marketplace. That's really what it is, and without throwing any shade on Amazon, right? Because Amazon's Amazon, but it's kind of Amazon with a soul. So they compete on speed and power. We can't. So we're kind of, there's some other things we're competing on. And so that marketplace, what we've done, we've opened up our marketplace and our Net Promoter Score of 90 and our 3.5 million contact points every day to young entrepreneurs, and we give them working capital. Like, we buy their goods like a cosmetic company, and we showcase them. So they make money, product. We take no equity in the company because we're not hurting them. You know, when you need money, people say, I want 50% in your company. We're like, we'll just buy your product. So here's some funds. And so we're giving a lot of young entrepreneurs exposure, particularly women and brown women startups who have a hard time accessing capital markets. And so I'm able to help them in 2 ways. One, Ashley Stewart is more help and then investor James, just giving them a little bit of advice and saying, oh, What do you think about this? On the LGBTQ community, we're big. Whoopi Goldberg, the reason why we thought she was perfect is that Whoopi just stands for capital I inclusiveness. She is just Whoopi, you know, and she doesn't have to say diversity and inclusion. She just is. And so, yeah, we had a whole line for Pride. You'll see that when we announce our judges for the Finding Ashley Stewart finale on September 14th, that look at who the judges are going to be. So yeah, it's a safe place, and it's a safe place. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah.
And by the way, if you have friends, entrepreneurs who are interested in, like, please send them our way. Yeah.
Hi, James. Thank you so much for coming. This was so amazing, and you've brought me to tears multiple times today, and I think that's always a great day at Salesforce when I can cry at work. I think this is kind of piggybacking off of your question and maybe like taking that a step further, because I love that you were, throughout this talk, you've been talking about like it wasn't just the right, it was like the right thing to do, like you're right. And I love that you are able to like bring your heart into your work. And sorry, just thinking of all the amazing things you said today. How do we inspire other people to, honestly, to be like you, to see something and be like, this is the right thing to do and we need to do it?
The way that I know that I'm trying is, one, being in a place like here, and thank you for letting me do this. But I've been speaking more at these impact capital conferences. Remember the outside world? These are Fortune 50, Fortune 100 companies with billions and cajillions of dollars and resources. And what I say to them in a very nice way, and they know me from my other life, from my investor life. So there is a bit of incremental credibility, right? They're saying, oh, this is investor James speaking. And I say, listen, if we were able to do what we did with what we had, come on, you guys can't do it? And by the way, it's the right thing to do. And look at, we've had some financial success too. You can have financial success. So it's the right thing, and it's the right thing. That's what I've been trying to convey, and I think I'm just using my kind of odd background to talk that capitalist talk, but it's obviously infused with morality, actually. Right? It's both at the same time. It's not one and one. And obviously, you guys live in a company that has, from day one, has said one, right? That's what I'm doing. And I think particularly, I look at a lot of faces here, younger faces. You guys have to hold that banner, and you have to drive it forward. Except you guys, in a lot of ways, are like Ashley Stewart. You're young, so you don't quite yet have the reins or the capital to be the decision maker. And you have to be patient. That's why I give that advice a lot to a lot of Gen Z mentees I have, or Gen Y mentees. I'm like, whoa, hey, you'll get there, right? But you don't have to sort of get on a horse and run through a wall. Remember the oxygen mask thing? You get there, but be purposeful in how you get there.
Right.
So I'm 48. I'm 48. So I started this at 42, this part of my life. But you can see every experience I had was part of, it prepared me to do this at the age of 42, 43. I don't think I could have done this at 25. Even if I'd had the knowledge set and the skill set, I don't think I was ready here, to really kind of understand who I am, what I'm not.
Absolutely.
Like not impressing, like just, right. I'm just like, this is what I got. This is the best I got, And that's a mindset. The earlier you can achieve that in your life, you will be happier. And you will be more successful when you do that too, by the way.
Last question. James, I've had the opportunity to be in some of your stores. To say that I went in as a secret shopper kind of isn't the real thing because it sort of don't look like everybody there. But while I was there, I noticed women with such fashion and such style and such boldness, and finding Ashley Stewart and the big reveal that you're going to be doing in September. Can you just talk about leading up to that, what is happening in your stores, what is happening in fashion? And we've got a lot of women across the company that are watching this remotely that would love to also maybe participate. So shamelessly plugging Finding Ashley Stewart. I may not be your demographic, but I'm definitely one of the women who love you.
Oh. So Finding Ashley Stewart, when you are trying to communicate, the first 3 years we were just doing this, and it's growing like this. The customers early on said, something's different. It feels like a movement. It actually came from the customers. In 2016, in part because of what was happening in the world, I just felt like we had to amplify things and show a little bit. So we came up with this thing called Finding Ashley Stewart. All it is that we visit stores and we literally have catwalks. And it's the value systems are like, it's based on leadership, community service, strength, generosity. It's like the anti-pageant, okay? And so we stop by all of these cities, like the NCAA basketball tournament. That's what we do. And we have a digital contest at the same time. And then we have like 20 finalists, and then we have a voting system done online. And last year we had over 1 million votes. And so we fly up the 8 finalists to King's Theater, and we have musical acts, celebrity judges. And that's what it is. It's basically a physical manifestation so that people can see what's happening. Sometimes people just have to see it. And so it's our version of putting a little glitz, little glam. So people are like, whoa, Lala Anthony just got up on stage and said, I am Ashley Stewart. And if you think about the significance of that, like Lala, who's become a good friend of mine, right? Lala is Lala. And Lala is size 6. She got up and said, I am her. And when she said that, it just shows you it has nothing to do about appearances at all. What Ashley Stewart is it's this. It's like, see me. I just want to be myself on my terms. That's what Ashley Stewart is. And everyone is Ashley Stewart. And guys too. I just want to be myself. And to be safe to say it. And to be safe to say it. And so that's what, if you guys are in Brooklyn on September 14th, it's a ridiculous event. You will dance, you would think about you're crying now. You will cry the entire night, but at the same time, you're gonna be jamming to like Faith Evans.
Yes.
And it's a party. And the celebrities come, and the best part of the celebrities coming is that they become Ashleyfied. What Ashley does, it rips off armor and credentials. It makes you just be yourself. And so the celebrities come and like, what in the world? And they're just, Lala is just Lala. Right, Soledad's just Soledad. En Vogue was just En Vogue. And I loved Terry Ellis. Don't put this in the final cut. But all growing up, I just loved En Vogue, and I met Terry Ellis, and Terry was just Terry. And that's what I love about the brand. And I think, I know this is the last question. I think if you think about now, having heard me for a little bit, the fit was good, because I just am who I am, and I just was, from a very early age, I didn't want to be labeled something. I'm like, my job's not who I am. It's a skill set. And so maybe the fit was pretty good, right? And I hope that one day, like part of the college tour, I really would like for the daughters and sons that I'm speaking to, I tell them, who's going to be CEO of Ashley Stewart one day? Which one of you is going to be CEO? Kick me out. And that's my job. Yeah. I want an Ashley to run this company.
It's beautiful. We want to thank you so much. James, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
As you
you.
can tell by the applause, this was enjoyed by all of us, and we look forward to doing more with you in the future.
Thanks, Ebony.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for coming.